Hey everybody. So I came back, I had a phone call, I walked away. I was gone about 15 minutes talking to a friend on the phone. Come back and my machine died. Yep, brand new machine died. So what do you think I need to do? What do you think I need to do? I don't know. Let's try something. Let me touch the screen. Oh! It was in temporary sleep. It's like those new cars that you buy that when you get to a traffic light, you're sitting there, the engine shuts off until you touch the gas pedal. It's an energy saver. Isn't that fabulous? Isn't that fabulous? Let's discover more about this Janome, okay? Don't go away. I'll be right back. Alright, so it's time to break out the drawers of embroidery thread. All these extra spools that I have. It's time to break out the thread and do some more embroidery. So what's happening here? What is happening? Well, I got this machine and I wanted to get it a few years ago and I said, nah, I don't need it. And I got the Skyline S5 instead. Then I saw this and it was a really good price. And I said, this is one I always wanted, and it's an up-to-date version that will be replacing some of my older embroidery machines that I have. And it's got a lot of up-to-date, top-of-the-line features in a mid-price machine price. Plus, it being discounted really well because after COVID, dealers are having a hard time selling higher-end machines because everybody was buying the lower-end machines, and they need to move these midline and higher-end machines. So now's the time for you guys to go and get machines if you want to get a nicer midline or higher-end machine. So I'm going to be doing videos, bits and pieces showing you how I'm using this machine, things I discovered about it along the way, so you can have some tips. If you ever get this machine, you can watch my videos and see the things I'm discovering. So we'll go from there. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now, this is a combination sewing and embroidery machine. There are so many features in this machine, and the thing of it is though, for as many features as there are, this instruction manual is not very thick. It really is not very thick at all. And you know me, how I'm always telling you people, read your instruction manuals, read your instruction manuals. So these are very, very condensed instructions. They get right to the point with features and icons and everything. So you want to be sure that, you know, you take your time and go through this, and then every time that you're sewing and embroidering, keep this instruction manual next to you. Okay? All right. So one of the nice things about this machine also, which I want to point out to you all, is that like many of the top-of-the-line machines in all different brands, it does come with different feet for different functions, and you know, it comes with different bobbin cases also, okay? Because many of the upper-end machines, they got the bobbin case for embroidery, they got a bobbin case for bobbin work, and this was a plate. This is the standard straight and zigzag plate. This is the one where you do your decorative stitching. See, it's got the wide opening there. This plate is your standard one. Then what I have in right now for embroidery is a straight stitch plate. Now this is your standard bobbin case for regular sewing and decorative stitching. And then there's there's a bobbin case for embroidery, and the bobbin case for embroidery has a yellow dot inside. When you take this case out, there's a yellow dot that for embroidery. So that's really great because these cases are calibrated already for you. Okay, so it's machined for dummies, you know. The calibration for the embroidery is for embroidery bobbin thread. Now, if we look through this whole feature, I'm going to go to home right now. Let's just go to home right there. And then this is the screen when we touch home when we're in embroidery mode. Now, you can sew and embroider with the embroidery module attached to this machine like the higher end brother and baby locks do. And one advantage of this too also is that it does come with a cloth guide for your seam allowance, which I'm going to go all into that later on with videos down the road, but I just wanted to walk you through this. Now here is, let me take my hoop off though, just in case I have to move this around some more. Let me take the hoop off back here. There we go. All right. So let's go. This function right here, it's got two different machines. You know, that means one's for sewing, one's for embroidery. So we're going to go there. Switch to ordinary sewing mode. Okay, we're going to switch ordinary sewing mode. So you'll hear that noise in the background. What that did was it set my embroidery unit back to its back to its park position, and then if you heard a little click, it brought the feed dogs back up. Okay. So then what I would have to do is I would have to change the throat plate if I'm going to do regular sewing, because we're in sewing mode right now. If you notice, because I didn't change the throat plate, it's only allowing me to do straight stitching. You see that? Now, when I go and change to this throat plate here, it's going to allow me to do the other decorative stitches also. So let me show you how I'm going to do that. Okay, so this machine, no longer do you have to do little screws to unscrew. You know what a pain in the ass that was. Oh God, that was tough. You know, because how do you get the small enough screwdriver in there, right? Okay, so when we use a dime, take a dime and try to do it. This one's so easy. It's like my Skyline. You just push that button and the needle plate pops right out. You see that? How nice is that? And then here is that bobbin case for embroidery. You see? So we pop this bobbin case out for embroidery, and you can see what I was talking about, that yellow dot. Let me show you. See that yellow dot? That means this is for embroidery only, and that's embroidery thread. Embroidery thread, for all you newbies, is this really, really fine thread, usually a 60 or 90 weight, and you want to use the bobbin thread dedicated for embroidery. Okay? Very important, because when you're doing a lot of stitching, you're going to have a lot of buildup of thread. Alright, so now I'm going to put the sewing embroidery case in, and it's a little tough to get in. You have to get used to it, but you have to get it in there right. And I'm not left-handed. I have to go in here with my other hand here. Alright, let me put the tripod down. So you take the bobbin out, take the bobbin case, and you drop it in. Make sure you drop it in so it fits in there nice. Now see this, let me try to show you something here. Alright. There's like a little nose, I call it a nose. Let me pull this out and show you. Hope you can see that. It's like a little nose right there. And there's a red dot. Okay? So that drops in, and that red dot matches the red arrow right here, and that little nose butts up against this little other nose, silver nose, that's sticking out. So now you can feel that it's in there really snug, and there's very little play. Very little play with this. You know, when I inherited some Singer embroidery machines, there was a lot of play here, and their bobbin cases make a lot of noises. So that's really cool. Now you see this foot here that's on here? This is the embroidery foot, and I replaced the screw that came with this big round screw. This is what Janome used to use, is these big round screws. I don't know why they got rid of it, but I'll tell you what, I like the big round screw much better. Much better. I just like it because you can grab it better. And I'm trying to, okay, you're going to forgive me because my hand's going to be in the way while I get this screw back on. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now we're going to put the regular bobbin case, or I mean, sorry, the throat plate cover, the throat plate for decorative and straight stitch sewing. Okay, now it is set for regular sewing. And let me pop the bobbin back in here. There we go. And this thread is from my embroidery, so let me get rid of that thread that's up here. Just cut that thread. Here's another thing I want to give you guys a little tip about when you're going to cut, when you're changing threads, when you're doing embroidery or sewing. This is a little tip we learned a long time ago. Don't pull it back up through the machine. Snip the thread at the top and pull it out through the bottom. Now, the reason why they tell you to do that is because there are springs in this and mechanisms, sensors. And when you pull that thread backwards, you can, if there's a snag on that thread, it could snag on that take-up spring inside and bust that. And that's when you have to then take your machine to the dealer because the sensor always says your upper thread is not working properly. All right, so always snip your thread from above and then pull it out through the needle. All right. Now, let me get my regular foot on here. See what I'm doing? There we go. And then always take your screw and give it a little snug. Give it a little snug, little love snug. There we go. That's all set. Now, as you can see, as soon as I put the sewing throat plate back on, all these characters underneath suddenly appeared. Now it says, please make sure the proper presser foot is attached. Yes, it is. I'm going to click that X there. Now you can see all these icons here for all the different decorative sewing selections have now been highlighted, so you can choose other stitches to sew. All right, so this has 200 built-in stitches. All right, and you're never going to be bored with that many stitches. Okay, so right here we're going to scroll through the utility stitches. These are our basic utility stitches. Go back and forth, okay, because it's in a basic utility stitch mode. See that? Back and forth. This machine also has a hand-looking quilting stitch, which I will show you in one of the future videos. Then here's our decorative sewing stitches. Now look at this. We've got all these files full of different genres of decorative stitching. All right. Here you've got applique, you've got heirloom, you've got quilt, you got satin, you got bridging, you got decorative, and this is what I love about Janome, what they did here. They named these things in a folder for everybody, which is great. Now, even though this screen is a very small screen, it's not that big of a screen. Let's see, if we go on a diagonal here, it's about a 6-inch wide diagonal screen, okay? When you're looking at the icons are good size. So you're not gonna go blind trying to read, okay? Go to the next page. It's got long decorative stitches, pictograph stitches, which I just showed you there. Let's go back. You got pictograph and you got play, a little play decorative like a shoe, a heart, a mannequin, things like that. This is your long stitches, which are your long decorative stitches. You see that? Really nice. All right, and then I'm going to go back. Heirloom stitching, you know, if you're in heirloom stitching. Satin stitching, it's got a limited amount of satin stitching. That's about it. Let's see. Yeah, limited satin stitching, not that many. The top of the line machines that Janome sells, the ones, the big buck machines, they got a huge selection of satin stitches, better satin stitches. I do have to tell you, when you get the top of the line machine from Janome, they have the best satin stitches out of all the brands out there that I've seen. They really do. They've got the market on that, but you got to pay for them. That's why I said they're a little stingy. They're a little stingy. I've mentioned that when it comes to their midline machines and stuff like that, which by this time in this century they should have given us a little bit more, because this looks like something from a Brother basic machine. Let's look. These satin stitches look like something from a Brother Walmart shelf machine. Shame on you, Janome. We need more. All right. But Janome makes a damn good machine. They really do. Okay, so, and then if we go forward, it takes us back to our utilitarian straight stitches. You know, we'll put that back here. And then let's see, what is this? This is right here. Gives you script block, and that is for when you're doing little monograms. It'll stitch out little lettering. Isn't that cool? Pretty cool, right? Now, see, I tried to press other buttons. It wouldn't let me because I have to do the X first, okay? Then, if we go here to this little icon here, there's folders here that tell us about garment sewing. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! We know what we're learning about garment sewing again. I think that's very important. We need to bring back garment sewing, and Janome's given us folders to teach people the seaming methods and everything for garments. Let's look at, for example, let's look at the first one, seaming, okay? Woven fabric, stretch knit, curve, and top stitching. All right. I know a lot of you gals out there are afraid to have structured garments because, you know, we want some flexibility in our certain age. When we start expanding our waistlines, we need a little stretch, so we're using stretch materials. So let's do stretch. These are the different stretch stitches. You see this stitch looks like a little tiny lightning bolt. That is so when you sew and when you go and you stretch your fabric, it's not the seam is not going to pop on you. That used to be called a lightning bolt stitch. Okay, Nancy Zeman referred to that stitch as a wobble stitch. And she got that term from Betty Cotton, who's a quilter. All right, and that wobble stitch works great for when you're sewing with knits. You see that? And it tells you the A foot. The only thing I'm wondering is, like, it doesn't really tell you what type of needle. I wish it got into more detail here, like what type of needle would you use. Okay, that's a medium. Here, that's a light. Oh, it goes to the left position. It goes here back to the center position. All right, light, when it goes to the left position, that means the needle's moving all the way to the left needle position of the throat plate. Closer left side of the throat plate used to be the closer to the bobbin when it comes up, and less play for fabric to go down into the bobbin case. That's why you lots of times you use a straight stitch plate when you're using really fine fabrics, because the straight stitch plate has a tiny little hole, and that tiny little hole prevents thin, fine fabric from being punched through and getting caught down on the feed dogs. See, there's a reason for all this stuff. It's a whole history, and if you've never studied sewing, you know this is the part where you need to study sewing, and that's what little things I'm helping you that I learned through the years. Try to remember this stuff. Bookmark me. Make sure you like and subscribe my videos so you can always refer back to some of the things. See, I just don't bitch and preach. I do teach. I really do. And when I have things to say, listen to me, guys, because I spent years studying and learning on my own and everything. You know, I used to live with someone, and I was in a long-term relationship, and they used to basically make fun of me for always wanting to learn how to sew and watching my videos and learning and stuff, and that was my college. Besides going to school for doing hair, which is my full-time job all these years, I went to college, and I called sewing college. And what was my sewing college? All the sewing educational videos that I would watch every day and then set up my sewing machines and practice. So that's what you're doing now when you watch YouTube, you see? But I didn't have YouTube back then. I had a television and a VCR. You guys got YouTube today, and you could take your little device and travel anywhere and watch it in your car, watch it everywhere. I couldn't move my TV and VCR in the car. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's so easy today. You guys can learn anything today, anywhere. There's no excuse. So when you gals post a picture of a foot that came with your machine on these sewing groups and say, what is this foot that came with my machine? I want to tell you something. If you cannot look in the instruction manual and see the diagram for that machine and then go to YouTube and enter the name of that foot on YouTube to watch a video on it, you're just lazy. I'm going to call you lazy, okay? You're not stupid. You're lazy, okay? Or you just want attention because you're lonely. All right, so let's go back here. Now let's go to back. Now, how do we get out of this? Well, there's an arrow up here. See, that took us back, right? That took us back. Now we've got curves. What does it say about curves? And these are just the stitches for curves. We got a curve, we got a lock-o-matic curve, we got a lock stitch. These are just the stitches for doing curves. This didn't make sense to me at all, Janome, sorry. No sense to me at all here. Now, unless there's a feature here that I don't know of that might show a movie on how to do a curve, but I think that's for those mega buck machines, you know, those $10,000, $15,000 machines, because I don't see any movie icon here to watch. What's this up here? Okay, now up here, for every stitch, when you press this up here, this you can adjust your needle position, left or right. You can move the needle when it's in a straight stitch. This is your length, and this is your tension. Okay, and then you have default, and then you have return carriage to store position. That's for other features we'll get into later. Alright, so we're going to get out of that. Alright, now let's get out of this, and let's get out of this, and then we have gathering. Gathering and edge stitching. Let's see if there's a difference between these stitches. Okay, gathering, yes, you have a longer basting stitch. Then you pull the threads at the end and you get to gather your fabric. This is ease stitching. Ease stitching is when you're going to go around the curve of an arm, and you need to ease that in because the curve of the arm is bigger than the hole of the opening of the armhole. And you need that easement. What it eases is gathers, and when you gather it very, very little around, it starts to form, and that's when you see the arm's eye start to develop. All right, you'll learn about that when you're sewing. But anyway, yeah, none of this really shows us any movies. It just shows you the stitch for each feature, each function, each sewing technique. That's all this does. So there's no movies on here. You're not going to get the movies unless you buy unless you buy the machines that cost what a house used to cost. Like years ago, you could buy a house for the price you pay for some of these machines today. Now you can't even touch a house for a price. Can't even buy a car sometimes either anymore. All right, so now what do we got here? This is that. This is that. What is this? What's this icon? Okay, this icon here. When you're in this mode here, let's go here. Let me just show you a couple things. So let's get out of here. Let's go back to all those features here. Okay, so here's what we got. Right now we're in a center straight stitch position. It tells you want foot A, and then it tells you your pressure dial on top of the machine for your foot pressure should be set at 5. That's one thing Janome does, that it has a dial position on top of the machine for your pressure of your presser foot. Other brands have automatic. It's all automatic. Janome still has a dial. So you still want to set that dial when you're going to sew, and then you change it when you're going to embroider. It's lower number. Go to number 3 when you embroider, number 5 when you're sewing. Okay. Then it shows you when you're doing these decorative stitches. This is your feed dog, and showing you up above. That means your feed dogs have to be raised, and then your tension is auto. Your tension is set at auto. Go to the next pages. There we go. Okay. So let's do it here again. All right. Let's see here. How do we get back to the beginning? How do we get back to the beginning? Oh, right here. There we go. See that? All right. Now, where are our buttonholes? Well, according to this, the buttonholes are supposed to be in here. Right? There they are. It's the third page. There's the buttonholes right here. And then here's your eyelet hole right there. See, that's an eyelet hole. It'll sell that out so you could put your eyelet punch in there and make a hole. That's for when you're doing a little cording and stuff like that. Let's see if there's anything more on the next page. Oh yeah, next page we've got applique stitches. You see that? And then you get into your heirloom stitches, and it just repeats what other subcategories were. This is looks like you got some cross stitch here. So there's just so much here. There's so much information here. Up here, that's your override for your tension, width, and all that. Then to get out of that, and then this here is for when you're combining stitches, your decorative stitches. This is mirror image here. Well, let's go to a decorative stitch. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Let's choose. All right, let's choose this little crescent little thing there. Okay, so if you press this here, all right, that is going to allow us to mirror image that. So if I do, it's supposed to mirror image that. Right? It's supposed to mirror image that. Well, I guess I haven't figured that one out yet. All right, well, let's go back. Let's look at another one here. Let's try a different stitch. Try a different stitch. Alright, so I'll have to look at that later, and we'll have to show you that on the next video, okay? So this is a little bit enough for now. Just a little bit of introduction here to help you guys out, and then I will be teaching you more as I learn more on this machine. You see, it's all about just learning where all the functions are and how to operate the functions. So my next video will go into more detail of the functions and how to get into them. Alright? Come on, you knew I wasn't going to make you wait till the next video. Alright, so what we want to do is you want to start with a blank selection here. We want a blank selection. Okay? Now, whatever decorative design we want to sew, you see this one here? It's an arrow, like an arrow pointing to the right. Let's just say we want that to point to the left instead. Well, before we select that, we're going to select the mirror image key. And that horizontal mirror image key will allow that, when I press that, it'll show to the left. Are you ready? You see how that showed to the left? Now if I want to combine another stitch and I want it to be to the right, I'm going to disengage that mirror image and then depress the arrow, and there it is to the right. If I want it to be in the left position again, I depressed it and then hit that again. You see? See how that operates? And then when I go there, it's showing me the stitches and how they're going to sew. How do we get rid of these now? Well, we just do our little, get rid of our sewing stitches with our little trash can. Now you can relax and try that, okay? And I will see you on the next video. Bye now.